Hi,
Hi.
Kristy.
Wow, you look fabulous for the morning.
Oh, well, thank you. So do you.
I am sorry for the delay in things. I read the day wrong. I'm in the car still at 9 a.m. dropping kids off.
I completely relate to that. So
Yeah,
no
and
worries at all.
not together in any way whatsoever, but it's all good. Show up messy or don't show up at
I
all.
was going to say, are any of us really, some of us fake it better than others
Yeah,
sometimes.
I think a lot of it is that. How are
I'm
you?
doing well. How are you?
I'm doing okay. I'm happy that we have rain here in Northern California because we're needing it, and it also kind of gives me a little permission to slow down.
Yes, yes. That's so important. Yeah,
Yeah, it definitely is.
yeah.
So, are you okay with giving us a little background about yourself,
Sure.
on how you've came to where you're at in your career, and also a little bit about yourself and your family?
Sure. So, I am Jenèt. A lot of people are hesitant to pronounce it. They're unsure. But yeah,
Janet, or
yes,
yeah.
exactly. So it rhymes with Renee. That's what I usually say.
Well, that's okay.
Um, but I'm a mom. I have 7 kids. My oldest daughter is 25, and then my youngest daughter is 6. And I have 4 sons and 3 daughters.
Wow,
Um,
lovely.
and thank you. Um, I think really kind of was already doing postpartum doula work before I even knew that postpartum doulas existed.
Mm.
I had my first child at 20 years old, and so I had friends, having babies after me. My cousin, some of my friends, their kids, and they would ask me, because I had had so many babies, kind of, questions like, is this normal? Or asking me questions about breastfeeding and things like that. And I really just enjoyed being able to support
Yeah.
new moms, because I had, had a lot of different experiences. One of my sons was born premature, so we spent time in the NICU. I did breastfeed all 7 of my kids, and so just, I enjoyed being able to be somebody that they felt comfortable to kind of go to and ask with those vulnerable questions.
Yeah, it's really hard.
It is. And so when my oldest daughter went off to college, I kind of had this like freak out, almost like a midlife crisis, where I realized just how quickly kids grow up, and I was pregnant with my youngest at the time, and just was really thinking like, gosh, at some point, all of my kids are going to be up and out of the house, and I'm still going to be fairly young. And what am I going to do with myself? And I just really wanted, I was very fulfilled as a mother, but I also wanted something else too, so that when they were all out of the house, or at least all in school, that I had, something else that I could be passionate about and spend my time doing. And so I've always loved the birth process. I really started off looking into becoming a birth doula. And then I have a friend who is a labor and delivery nurse that I was constantly asking her questions about it.
Mm-hmm.
And she just reminded me that, you know, sometimes women can be in labor for a few days, and your kids are still so small, my 3 littlest at the time.
Yeah.
And she was just saying, you're going to have to really have childcare, someone that you could call at the drop of a hat, that can come and be with your kids, so that you could go and support a mother in labor. And she is the one who said, you would be really great as a postpartum doula. And I didn't even know that was a thing. And so anyways, when I started to really look into it more, I instantly knew it was what I wanted to do. And it's literally changed my life. The first client I ever supported, it was kind of a tough situation, because I wasn't super confident, and just I went through the whole 6 weeks where I'd have days where I would leave where I'm like, gosh, I'm still not sure if they like me. Like, I was enjoying the work and I felt like I was doing a good job, and on the last day, they both mom and dad were just so sweet and told me, that they couldn't have gotten through those 6 weeks without my support. And we cried, we hugged, and it was just a really, really sweet moment.
Yeah.
And I left there feeling like I know that this is what I was meant to do. And it's just gotten better.
And what a true
since.
gift, isn't it, when you have that feeling?
Yeah.
Because, so much of us, especially, now in this economy, we're doing jobs that we don't love, to pay the bills.
Exactly.
And when you actually get to do something that you love and you are good at, it's a real, real gift.
Yes, I agree. It is. It's changed my life. So I'm very grateful for it.
Yeah. So how long ago was that?
So that would have been 6 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yes.
And so your youngest is now 6?
She's 6. Yes. She's 6.5. So yeah,
Okay.
she was still a baby when I started.
Yeah. And what a transition. I want to say, like, having one go into college and being pregnant with one, like, I can only imagine that vulnerable feeling, like you're saying, like, that's a lot. That's a lot in one time.
Yes.
Like, to go feel in your body.
It really is. At the time, well, before she went off to college, I was pregnant, and then I had my youngest son was a toddler. My son above him was in preschool. I had one in elementary school, one in middle school, 2 in high school. So it was like every stage that you could possibly have, I had one in, and then one in the belly. So it was a trip for sure. And my oldest daughter, we can laugh about it now, but I remember taking her to college, and she's like, I'm pretty sure I'm the only person that's ever gone to college and their mom is pregnant. But it has been a gift, and she is such a wonderful big sister to her little sister.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think it was meant to be.
Yeah, obviously. Yeah. We go through things that are really difficult, and then later is when we see, the outcome. It's definitely meant to be. Yeah. So did you have a lot of support? Because I have 3 children, and I have 3 boys, 19, 15, and soon to be next month, 16 and 13. So I'm in the thick of teenage years, and one finding himself as a young adult. And I can only imagine, and also because you have a large span between ages, the emotional load that takes on you. And without support, because I have to say, for me, I'm very close to my family, but they are all on the other coast. I'm in California, they're in New York and Pennsylvania and Florida. And so I didn't have a lot of support here. I have a lot of wonderful friends and community, but nobody that's like in my space regularly to help me.
Right.
And when I had my 3rd son, I was an older mom, and so I was already tired with the first 2, and they were all 3 years apart. And my husband at the time went to start a new job the day after I gave birth.
Wow.
And I just did not have his support. He was not there for me in so many ways. And I was such like that dichotomy of feeling like so thrilled and happy, and I was such a good mama, like engaged and so wanting to be with them all the time. And I'm very much a Waldorf mommy and nature-centered mommy, so everything was very much in creating with them and in venturing with them. And then at the same time being very overwhelmed, and tired and very exhausted. And as a doula, at that point, I had been a doula for almost 7 years. So knowing, because I did both birth and postpartum work, knowing the importance of having it, but not able to get that for myself.
Mm-hmm.
And just the struggle that I went through, and thinking back and thinking how different it would be for me if I would have had family nearby, if I would have had a postpartum doula, just the sheer difference that I know that I make when I'm there for
Yeah.
people to help them through the process.
Yes.
So how were you able to get through that and continually do, because you still, your children,
Yeah.
some of them are still young?
I can relate to you so much because I same thing. I had those moments of just feeling so much joy and just, I mean, I love newborns and I love being a mom, and being a mom is something since I was very, very, very young that I just have always known that I wanted to be. Um, and I also have learned now as a postpartum doula in supporting my clients, I've had to process a lot of my own things as far as when I was having my babies, that I did have people around me that, you know, supported me and definitely helped me and were my village. But I also struggled with, you know, not asking always for the help that I needed, or feeling like I needed to prove, I don't know, to myself or to the world that I could do it on my own. And so um, I've had moments, you know, since I've become a doula where I realized that I don't know why I did that, you know, that I would have probably enjoyed some of my babies a little bit more had I um, asked for more help, or really opened up to anybody close to me about, you know, the struggles
Yeah,
or how difficult.
there's such that stigma there that we're supposed to be able to do it all, you know,
Yes.
and that we're supposed to be able to handle everything and not ask for help. And
Right.
I see it. I would think that even in the amount of time in the 19 years since I had my first, that it would have evolved more. But I
Mm-hmm.
still see that where people just
Yes.
are not asking for help, or they think they have to hide the things that are hard or struggling, and
Right.
the relief that people feel when you get real, when you start
Mm-hmm.
to really talk about, no, it's hard.
Yes.
It's hard, and sometimes it sucks, and
Yeah.
it's really, you know, it's not, we're not meant to do it by ourselves or alone.
Mm-hmm. And yes, that I feel like too, the more children you have, sometimes there's this idea that you need less support because you've done it before, when it's actually the opposite, you know?
Or they think, oh, your other children will help out.
Right. Or you're an expert by now, you know,
Right.
you've got this.
Yeah.
So, and actually, you know, you need more support. And it's interesting. A lot of my clients, that I do support, I thought going into being a doula, I thought a lot of my clients would be first time parents, you know, that thought, oh, well, we haven't done this before, so we need support because we're new at this. But a lot of my clients are hiring me with their second or third babies. Um, and they are like, oh my gosh, we are so glad, because you don't realize until you have that second or third, just how divided your time is, because, you know, even just having a newborn is so exhausting. And when you just have the newborn, you can nap when the baby naps, or, you know, get those moments of some rest. But when you have a toddler, it's like, oh, well, even if the newborn's napping, if the toddler's awake, mom is not napping.
Yeah.
So
Right.
it's really helpful to have, you know,
Yeah.
that extra set of hands.
It's an interesting thing that people would think that you would have it more when you have more responsibility and you have
Exactly.
more people running
Yes.
around having to keep your eye on and take care of. I definitely feel like I notice more probably over the last 6 years with my work that I have a lot more repeat mamas, and that I have a lot of people calling me that have 2 or 3 children
Yes.
for support, and a lot of people kind of regretting not having doulas with their first, you know, birth doulas in particular, but you know, as a birth doula,
Yes.
but the postpartum help too, and I tend to help people along. I don't know why I do this all the time, but I'm helping all of my clients for free instead of being their postpartum doula. I just
Mm,
continue from their birth doula onto
mm-hmm.
being the postpartum doula, without it actually being like a contract type thing. But it's just that I get caught up in really loving them
Yes.
and wanting to be supportive and see them thrive as a mother, and
Yeah.
just knowing how, invaluable that support
Mm-hmm.
is, and the difference that it makes.
Yes.
Um, so I'm so happy when I get to meet other women that actually get that and can get the word out to people, because honestly, I have a hard time when people are, with birth in particular, giving up their power, not taking, I don't know how to say this, not taking control of the way that they want things to be. And
Mm-hmm.
that control in postpartum shows up by asking for help.
Oh,
And yeah,
100%. 100%. Yeah.
instead of being in control, it's like, no, these are the things that I'm going to need for me.
Yes.
These are the things I'm going to need for my baby. And what I feel is missing a lot is that moms feel like, oh, they're just supposed to be worried about the baby or the family,
Mm-hmm.
and then nobody's really taking care of the mom.
Yes.
So I'm wondering if you, and I know a lot of postpartum doulas probably have read Mothering the Mother,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of books around that topic, and if you can speak to that a little bit, and what you see in your work
Yeah.
around that.
I it's been really interesting. I've had so many clients that I've supported where I've come in maybe on the second or third. I do primarily overnight support, but I do daytime as well. And it's happened both daytime and overnight where, I come into their home maybe 2 or 3 days after they've come home from the hospital. So they've had, a little time under their belt to, with their baby. And one particular client that I just remember this night so vividly. This was right after COVID, and she was having her second baby. With her first, he was premature, and so spent a lot of time in the NICU, and they kind of had to move out of their home to be closer to the hospital because they couldn't stay at the hospital. And it was just very chaotic time, and they were just so focused on him just getting stronger and healthier every day and being able to bring him home. And she ended up not breastfeeding, which at first she was, fine with. But as he got a little bit older and they kind of got settled into life with as new parents, she had a lot of regret that she didn't breastfeed. And so with her second, it was really important to her. And that was something she shared with me during her pregnancy when we were kind of interviewing to see if we would be a good fit. And so I showed up on the third night, and her mom was in town to help with the toddler. And she opened the front door, and she had her little newborn baby girl on her shoulder. And I said hello to her and said, "How are you?" And she burst into tears.
Oh.
And it was kind of like, I hate breastfeeding and it sucks, but I really want to do it. And it's not going well. And so, we went and sat on the couch and chatted. And she had kind of shared that she was having a lot of struggles, and that every time she went to have to feed the baby, she was getting stressed out and tense because it was painful. And then you've got the baby screaming and the toddler running around. And I know that her mom was trying to be very helpful, but kept saying things like, well, why don't you just give her formula? You did with your older one. Why are you doing this to yourself, kind
Right.
of type thing? Like, why are you torturing yourself and you're not enjoying this? You should just give her formula. Just give her a bottle. And it was really upsetting her because she wanted to breastfeed. And so after she shared that with me, I looked at her and I went over and grabbed her hand and I said, if you want to breastfeed, I'm here to help you figure this out. And, I'm here to support you in trying whatever we can, to make this work for you. And we just hugged, and it was a journey. There were some things I noticed that first night. She allowed me to sit with her while she did a feeding, and there were some things I noticed, and so was able to refer her to a lactation consultant. And they went through a journey, but she ended up breastfeeding for a year, and it got so much better, and it wasn't painful anymore, and she was very, very grateful. But it reminded me that a lot of times our family and our friends, they do want to support us, and they love us, and they want to be there, but they're not always really listening to what it is that we want or what we need. And I think that is just so important for people that maybe are unsure. They know someone close to them that is about to have a newborn or has one, and they want to help. But I think really just listening to the new mom and finding out what her wishes are and what she wants her postpartum to look like, and honoring that, and really cooking for her, letting her know that this is a time when all you need to really worry about and focus on is resting and recovering and bonding with your baby. And that we are here to circle around you to do the other things so that you can just focus on that. I think is so important. And then there's also sometimes new moms where they need a little break from the baby, and so they would be happy to have you come over and just hold the baby, and their part of their healing is to do some dishes or or cook or something like that, and that's okay too if that's healing to her. So I think it's just really the listening and asking her, how can I support you? How can I be most helpful to you today?
Yeah. Yeah, I know the difference that it makes, like when my mom had come, I think for my second baby, Rowan, and my mom is one of those people who she just jumps in. She doesn't have to ask what I need. She just does. And for me, in my state of overwhelm, that works really well for me. Where with other people, maybe that's not going to work well.
Right.
But I'm okay with you jumping in and getting, some of the laundry done, or just cooking a meal, or, giving some help with the kids to play with them while I'm with the baby. Or so for me, that worked really well. But, there's people where I go over and they feel their space too invaded by doing that. And so then you find different ways to mother them and care for them.
Yes.
And sometimes it's really just not trying to fix. It's just listening, right? Or it's holding their hand or hugging them. I can remember walking into one of my clients' homes recently, directly after birth. It was our first postpartum visit. And the hug that we gave each other and the lingering in that hug was so needed. She obviously needed that from another woman, and she had women surrounding her, but a woman in the business, so to speak, that knows.
Yes. And I think we are also in a position which is really nice where we're not their mom or their sister or their best friend. So if they do need to vent about maybe their spouse, or just be really, really so real about what they're feeling, they know we're like a safe place, because we're not going to have to sit across from your mom at Thanksgiving dinner or your husband. So we are kind of a neutral, safe person that, yes, we get it, we're there for them. And a lot of my clients have expressed too that because we are in this industry, they feel like you've probably seen it all, so they're more comfortable to be a little more vulnerable with us than maybe even they are with their best friend or their sister.
Also playing off of our energy, right? Because their family members are bringing different energy into it. Like the mom that talking about, her intention was there to support her, but
Yes.
she's bringing all her preconceived notions, her education on things,
Right.
her opinions on things
Right.
without knowingly, affecting the energy in the room, where we're very neutral
Yes.
energy, very accepting, very calm, like you're saying, very
Mhm.
safe. And that safe
Yes.
space is so important.
Yes.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
a really important piece of the puzzle when you're going through that healing process. And the one thing that I notice with a lot of postpartum doulas that I love is the reinforcement for moms of, there's no specific timeline in your healing
Mm-hmm.
and in your mental balancing of things,
Yeah.
because the hormones bring us so up and down, right?
Right.
And I love that so much for moms, because there's this notion that we're supposed to bounce back into life and
Mm-hmm.
supposed to be, normal again and moving and doing all the things, when
Right.
our organ system, could take an entire year to get
Mm-hmm.
back into
Yes.
place. And there's so many hormones like moving our moods and just the way that we're feeling. And then just the healing from the birth itself, whether you
Exactly.
vaginally or cesarean. And there's just so much to take into consideration there,
Yes.
that it's ludicrous to think that we're supposed to be okay within weeks or a month,
I
And
know.
so I love that messaging, and I wish more moms knew, like, you have time.
Yes.
And that getting vulnerable piece of asking for help will allow you to take a little bit more of that time.
Yes. I've had a few clients where they've had to return to work, around
Yeah.
that 6 week period or 8 weeks. And I mean, and they've felt like, oh my gosh, I'm so not ready. How do other women do this, or, juggle returning to work, and they might still have a baby that's waking up for feeds during the night, and you feel like, how is everybody else doing this, going back to work at this time? And so I do like to remind them that you know it's not easy, and it's not, you are not an anomaly because you feel that way, and that it does take time, and um, just reminding them that you you are there to support them, but that this is not the way it's meant to be, really, that you should have to be making all those transitions so soon. And I love that. I think a lot of companies are giving more time,
Yeah.
um, for the maternity leave, paternity leave. I've had some clients that have been able to figure out a way to where maybe dad takes his paternity leave later, or their partner takes it later, so that around that time that maybe mom is having to go back to work, dad can now stay home, and so they're not having to both be back working and have baby going to daycare, or having someone come in and watch the baby, and that can be helpful too.
Yeah, I think
But
that's
yeah.
such a great point, because I try to talk moms through that too, of like spacing out the partner's um, availability instead of having it all, chunked in the first couple of weeks.
Right.
Um, because it's really important that, I mean, for all of them, the family, everybody's tired, right? But the mom feels it more, especially if she's nursing.
Mm-hmm.
And just to have that, you know, I don't know, timeline be a little bit more smooth and the transition be smooth.
Yes.
So I'm wondering, with your postpartum work, if you work with the partners to help them figure out how to take care of the mom as well. And, because I know what I think a lot of people think postpartum doulas are is you're just going in and doing it. But
Mm-hmm.
isn't there a lot of teaching happening as
Yes.
well, like helping?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yes. I love, like, I've had some dads that have expressed to me, or partners expressed to me, I feel like I can't help as much as I would like
Mhm.
to, because, mom is nursing, and especially if they're not offering bottles. And so I've helped them, figure out they're the baby carrier. And
Mhm.
so they love that, because I've
Baby
had some.
wearing is such a great thing for partners. I
Yeah,
love it, love it, love
I
it.
do
So important.
too. And it's so neat to see their confidence, because sometimes, they'll feel like, oh, well, she's only handing me the baby when the baby's fussy, and then I feel like my hands are tied because I can't offer, the
Yeah.
breast or food. And and they feel a little bit maybe uncomfortable, or they feel like they don't have the skills or the tools to soothe the baby. But you get that baby carrier on them, and they're able to get baby settled in there, and you could just see the confidence in their face, in their body posture. And then it's like, oh, and now your hands are free, so you can unload the dishwasher.
Right.
And it's like really helping them feel like they can be helpful. And I love to see how their face changes, and their confidence
Yeah.
really does
And to
increase.
know that they get to have a similar bonding experience as well.
Exactly.
I love
Yeah.
when I show up postpartum and I see the dads doing skin to skin or the
Hmm.
partners doing skin to skin. There's a couple that I have, was two moms, and they have a I think a 1.5-year old, I think was, and so they were both nursing the new
Hmm.
baby.
Hmm.
And there's just such beautiful, I love all of the bonding and the
Hmm.
ability um, to help the family thrive when you both take part in that way. But there is a real thing where a lot of the partners don't know what to do. So it's
Yes.
beautiful when somebody has somebody like you saying, oh, here's a few things that you can do. This is something that would make it easier. Here's some ways that you can bond.
Hmm.
I know earlier on in my postpartum work, I always include partners into the happiest baby on the block techniques.
Hmm.
Um,
That's
the swaddling, the
great.
shushing,
Yeah.
things like that. The baby wearing is always one of my top ones that I do because it's
Yes.
so important for the baby.
Hmm.
Um, but then you get the additive, benefits for the partner
Yeah.
as well.
I
So
think it's really important too, because a lot of times, if you're supporting a family where they do have older kids, or, a toddler or something, it's sort of happens just where, the dad or the other partner kind of takes on, you know, the toddler, and or being with the older kids, and then maybe is not bonding as much with the
right.
newborn. But yes, it's so sometimes, you have to kind of encourage that, and give them tips or tools in a way that they can do both,
Right.
because it is helpful, and it is just as important for them to have that bonding time with the newborn,
Yeah, for
as it
sure.
is for them to help kind of take on more of the load with the older sibling. So
Yeah. And do you find that your experience as a mom was really helpful for you in helping others? Because I'm assuming with 7 children, you can teach us something. You've got
I
something to teach us.
I think so. I think just little things that, like, I know for me, starting my days, if the dishes, or there's no dishes in my sink, it just,
I'm the same way.
and so a lot of times if I'm doing a daytime visit, I'll, come over and just kind of be doing that while I'm catching up with my client about how their night was, or how their morning's been so far, or kind of, what I can be most helpful doing that particular day while we're chatting. I'm tidying it up, and I love to feed people, and that's something,
Mm,
with
so
my own
good.
kids. And so it's like, I love getting to do that, or just knowing that, as a mom myself, like, even if you just have a newborn, the day can go by so fast, where you're so focused on the baby and just getting through the day. And before you know it, it's dinner time. And if you don't, have a plan, or you don't have the luxury of having your freezer stocked with meals, or,
Mhm.
have a meal train going, it can feel overwhelming. And then you get to that point where everybody's starving, and it can be stressful. And so I like to, if I'm doing a daytime visit, I'll, sometimes make something in the crock pot, so that it's cooking during the day, and when dinner comes around, they have a warm, meal to
So
eat.
that's such a beautiful gift. I mean,
So,
it seems so simplistic, but it really is so helpful.
yeah. And yeah, I think definitely my experiences with my own babies, have been helpful. Like just being able to have that perspective that I've had some clients where they have, before giving birth, they really thought for sure I want to breastfeed. And then for whatever reason, after their baby's born, they try it and they struggle with feelings of not loving it, and then there's the
Partial
guilt of,
disconnect or something.
yes, or they're just, didn't realize how much of a time
Oh,
commitment it is and everything. And they've expressed maybe to somebody else in their life, their best friend, that, I don't think I want to breastfeed for 6 months anymore. I think I want to be done now. And it's, 3 weeks in or 6 weeks in. And, you have a thin line of, you want to support them and encourage them and let them know it's not always going to be this hard. Like if you can get through that
oh, for
time,
sure.
but at the same time, if you get to 6 weeks and you find you still want to quit and you don't want to continue, the guilt that they can sometimes feel or that other people can put on them. I've been able to share with a few moms that kind of knew that they were done with their breastfeeding journey much earlier than they thought, and they had kind of pressure from family members or friends, and I let them know, in the big picture, like your baby's not always going to be a newborn, and this decision feels so big right now. And not that it is a light decision, but it is very important. But I also know that, babies grow up and they go off to kindergarten, and they, you look on the playground, and as moms, you can't tell which kids, unless you talk to the mom,
Right.
which ones were breastfed, which ones were not, which ones were breastfed for 2 years, which ones were breastfed for 3 weeks. And I think sometimes that can be, helpful for
Sure.
a
And it
brand
sounds
new
to me what
mom.
you're doing is you're helping them with their mental health, because really when it comes down to it, like that, those are the real things needed, right? Where we're
Yeah.
taking care of mom's mental health, because the amount of decision making alone that we
Mm-hmm.
do in a day
Mm-hmm.
is crazy pants.
It
It's
really
crazy pants.
is. It
Yeah.
is. And we
And
care so much, and we love our children so fiercely from, literally the first time you lay eyes on them in an ultrasound, that
Mhm.
you feel like every decision does just have so much weight over their entire lives. And that's a huge responsibility to,
Huge. And it's
to
hard.
have.
It can be paralyzing, on
Yeah,
some level, too much about each decision.
absolutely. Yes.
Uh, I even feel that now with my 19-year-old sometimes. And one of the biggest lessons I've learned with him being my first, he um, has taught me so many things, but one of the biggest things is, and the hardest things, is the letting go
Mhm.
and allowing, not saving him all the time, not trying to fix things, not trying to always help. Although that is my natural instinct. I want to help
Mhm.
him. I want to help him have an easier life. I want to help it, be better, more joyful, more healthy, like all of those things. But there are different points during their childhood, different stages, but especially as they start to move into young adulthood, where the
Yeah.
letting go piece is your biggest thing that you have to do, and it is so
It
hard.
is. It is. My oldest daughter, we can joke about this now, but she went through a phase. She's very social. When she was in middle school and high school, she's very active. Um, and she was a great student, but she would be forgetful, sometimes with things, leaving the house in the morning. And there was a year where she would call me,
Mhm.
almost like multiple times a week from school. Mom, I forgot, my dance shoes or whatever, and I need them after school. Can you bring them to me? And, most of the time I would say yes and I would do it. But then I had a new baby at home when her little brother was born, and I had to kind of have a talk with her, like, it's not just me popping in the car now
Right.
to go bring you your shoes to school. And also I'm not really helping you, you know, plan,
Yes.
be more organized if I just keep bringing you whatever you forgot that day. You know, you need to put it in your backpack the night before, or, we just had discussions about that. And also there would be times where, I did certain laundry and then she would come to me at 8:30, 9 o'clock at night and go, oh, I need my ballet tights, or I need this certain sweatshirt washed because I have to wear it tomorrow. And I'm like, sorry, like I'll show you how, to do a load if you would like to do it. But
That's
when
such
you
an
have,
important gift on a lot of levels, though.
yeah.
You have to, like, as we see it now as moms of older children, like, to
Mm-hmm.
see how that plays out for them, because the
Yeah.
more we do for them, I think my sister and I talk about this a lot, that some of the struggles that we have, we realize we did too much, which sounds
Right.
crazy, but there is a point where you can be doing too much for your children,
It's true. I mean,
and it work
when,
against
yeah,
you and
yeah.
them.
Well, I remember her at times in those years where she'd go, oh, that's so mean, like I have to do my own laundry, or the first time I said, no, I can't bring it to you, like I'm nursing the baby, or I just got the baby down to sleep. But when she did go off to college, she was a freshman, and she would tell me she met kids that she'd be in the laundry room, doing laundry, and there would be kids that didn't know how to use the washing
Right.
machine because they never had to. And she said the first time someone said that to her, she thought they were kidding. Like, 'cause it's like, you're 18 years old and
Uh-huh.
you've never, worked a washing machine before. But
Well, I can
she was,
imagine with 7 children, though, like, I know part of being like a Waldorf parent, one of the things that we do is chores
mhm,
with your children, right? So you teach
right.
them really early on, to be, part of the collaboration of the family and stuff. But it's not always an easy thing. It's not
Right.
just like a built-in, oh, they're always going to do that.
Yeah.
But I can imagine, like, the more children you have, the more you're needing that,
Yes.
right?
And I know that, she has expressed to me, even my oldest son, because he joined the army right after high school. It's like they were grateful that, they were a little more independent, before they left the house,
Yeah.
because they adjusted a lot, a lot better than they saw some of their peers who maybe, had fewer kids in the home, and so maybe the parents were able to do more for them, which, yes, at the time you think it's great, but then you get out on your own and it's like you realize how much you don't know how to do for
Yeah.
yourself. So yeah,
And
I
it,
think
it
it was
feeds
good.
into different parts of your personality too.
Mhm.
It definitely makes you more resilient, but you also start to think with different parts of your brain,
Yes.
and you learn how to do for yourself, or you tackle hard things, or you don't have people fixing things or doing it for
Yes.
you. It really does work on a lot of different levels for them. It's
I
not
agree.
easy as the parent, though, because you then have to come off as the bad guy, or
Right.
you're constantly bumming them out by not, but I think it's really, really an important piece. I
Mhm.
know you have to wrap up at 10 because you have things going on.
Yes.
And there was so much that I wanted to get to, so we're going to have to do this again. But
I would love
yeah,
that.
but there is something that I wanted to end with. I just wanted to ask you how I had somebody ask this of me the other day, and it reminded me of something that I went through when I had my third child. Um, I had a few friends that only had one child, and I can remember them being, so overwhelmed and feeling, in their own space. What you know, so your
Mhm.
overwhelm is your overwhelm.
Mhm.
And talking to me about how hard things were, and here I was, like, really struggling with 3,
Mhm.
and you being a mom of 7. probably know this better than me, but it was really hard for me. And somebody asked me, well, how do you handle this? The other day, somebody asked me this of me, because I'm listening to someone saying, oh, I'm just so busy and it's just so hard and all these things. And here I am with 3 doing it by myself, and trying to deal with all the things, and really not wanting to hold it against them, because on the professional side of things, I know everybody's hard is their hard. And it's okay that you're struggling, and it's okay, this is what you know. And so it's going to be different from mine. But what she was asking me was very similar to what I was feeling in that moment of kind of being annoyed. You can't help on some level. I was kind of annoyed, like, are you aware what I'm going through? You're sitting in front of me saying how busy you are. You're stay-at-home mom with 1 kid who is very quiet, and there, not much. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm kind of going nuts right now.
Right.
So I'm just wondering, just for the person who asked, but also I'm just curious, like, the more children you have, like, does that get easier to have more compassion for other people? Because professionally you have that compassion. But then as
Yes.
a mom, when you're going through the overwhelm,
Yeah,
how
think
do you deal with that?
I think that I do, just because I can literally remember back to when I had my first, and she was a easy baby. She really did not cry very much, and but I can remember going and running errands, and it's like, oh my gosh, I have to get her into the car, and I have to
Yeah,
bring the diaper bag and make
all
sure
the
it's
things.
stocked, all that stuff. And then sometimes leaving the house, takes more time than the actual errand itself. And I remember thinking, like, oh my gosh, this was so much easier, when I was pregnant or before I became a mom. And then I had my second, and it was like, okay, now I have 2 of them that I have to get out of the house and time things right with, feeding, making sure this one's fed and this one's, got their shoes on. And so I definitely can sympathize that, just like you said, everybody's heart is their heart. And so, I know that it's all relative. And I can remember, after having my second one, then when I would have moments where I just had one that I was taking to do things with, it was like, oh, this is so much easier, and so I knew with each time I had another child, like, I knew that it was going to be much harder to have 4 than it was to have
And
3.
what do you think helped you bounce back the best? What, looking back, like, what was the most helpful for you that we can say to people? I mean, I know I would say for everyone, if you can, get a postpartum doula, because
Yes.
I'm not just here to sell you. I'm here to, say, like, really, it makes such a huge difference
Yes.
having somebody there to support you mentally, physically, with food, with helping around there. But what do you think helped you get back into your body, feel more balanced? Not that you're trying to get back to where you were, because this is your new normal to embrace, and really, find a new space for yourself. But yeah, what do you think it was for you?
So
Anything
yes,
that
my
stands out?
motto for sure is support over stuff. And I always tell people that are just on the fence about getting a doula, or how much time of support they want to book before the baby comes. I tell them, get more than you think that you'll need, because I've never once had a family that I've supported where they've regretted how
Yeah,
much postpartum support they
for
booked.
sure.
But for myself personally, because I did not have a doula with any of my children, I think one huge thing for me was that I taught fitness classes, actually, when I was through all of my pregnancies and after. And so getting back to that, it was like 1 hour a day that I knew I was doing something for me. And it helped me so much physically and emotionally and mentally to,
Yeah.
to have that hour. in my day.
But
And
also the effects of working out, like that's
yeah,
huge, right?
the endorphins and everything, which I think is, it's important. There were times where I maybe didn't feel completely ready to jump back into the teaching, just because it was a lot to juggle. Was bringing my kids there with me, and so just getting everybody out of the house. And obviously, if you're the instructor teaching, you have to time it right, because I was nursing, that the baby's fed, and I'm not going to be up on stage, leaking in front of the whole class or something. So it was a lot, but I always felt better afterwards, and felt like whatever the day, had thrown at me before, it was like I could leave it on stage, sweat it out, and then know that I can get through the rest of the day, because I felt better. And yeah, it was just super, super helpful to do something. And I think that is really important for new moms to, have an out, even if it's just an hour of your day, whether you enjoy sitting and reading a book, or you enjoy cooking, or, doing some stretching, something that feeds your soul and
Absolutely.
reminds you that you are still you, and that yes, you're a mother, maybe you're a wife too, and you're all of those things, but that you're still a person and you matter. And as everybody says, you can't pour from an empty cup. And so finding something that you enjoyed before you became a mom, that you allow yourself to still have time to do. Maybe you can't do it every single day, but if you can, that's going to be a tremendous help. But carve out some time, and you do have to carve that time out, whether
Yeah,
it's
you
with your
have to
partner.
get to a point where you're almost scheduling it all the time. I feel for
Absolutely.
me
Yeah.
because
Yes.
um, I didn't really have that, but I'm looking back now and knowing how much of a difference it makes when you get a break.
Yes. Because the day's going to go by,
Yeah.
whether
You will
whatever.
always be busy. There will be a
Mhm.
million things to do. Your work is never done.
Exactly.
So you'll always have an excuse to say, I can't do it. But if
Mhm.
you don't fit it in, you're going to end up being sick. You're going to be depleted.
Yes.
So many problems that come down the line, and then problems in your relationship, in your marriage. Like it can affect so many different levels.
So true.
But most importantly, your mental health and your physical health, like those things are so important. The breaks, the feeding. And I love that it came in that form. I can remember when I had my first and my second, bringing them into, because I taught yoga. And I would bring them in and be nursing while people were in shavasana. I'd have one here and then one next to me. One of them would go around and push on people's backs,
Mhm.
as we went through the class and stuff.
I love it.
Yeah,
I
I
love
mean,
it.
it's
Yeah.
it's not an easy gig, but you have to do what you have to do to make sure that you and your family are served in a way that makes sense, but it's going to keep you really
Yeah.
healthy.
I think it's important for our families, especially for our kids, to see us, you know, doing things that we love, because that was something other than, teaching the fitness classes. Um, I spent a lot of years when my kids were little, just trying to be the best mommy and not really taking care of myself. And now with my three little ones, it's very different. And I think becoming a doula has helped me, because like how you expressed, about the person that who has one child and was complaining they're tired. I have some clients, I've gone into their homes and they have maybe one baby or two, and they stay home and they've got, a housekeeper and maybe a nanny. And it's like they are getting support and they don't feel guilty about it. They're grateful that they're able to. And it actually helped me with realizing, that it was okay for me to not try and do everything, and that, to let go of some of that control. And I think it's been really good for my younger kids to see that, I do things for myself, and I don't feel guilty. I don't feel like
Sounds good.
I have to choose being, a great mom and being totally selfless, or being taking care of myself. It's like you can be a great mom and still prioritize your needs and yourself, and sometimes it allows you to be, more present and enjoy it and not be resentful,
Mm-hmm.
because you are getting your soul,
Yeah. Your
uh,
needs
need.
are just as important.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I think it's also teaches them how to then take care of themselves, that they're
Yeah.
important.
Yeah.
Like them seeing us. I haven't always been good at it. It's something that I, struggle with a lot of times. I give to the point of forgetting about myself. And
Hmm.
it's funny because that's what I coach other people on, but
Right.
it's kind of human nature as a giver,
Hmm.
that and we're so taught in our society that we don't fit on our to-do list.
Right.
Um, so yeah, I love that messaging, and I think it's important for our kids not only to see us taking care of ourselves, but that we are a person outside of mom, you know,
Yes.
because
Yeah.
they see us as just mom.
Hmm.
I have these conversations all the time with my oldest, like, I had a whole life before you where I did all these different
Right.
jobs and had, different experiences in the world.
Hmm.
I'm not just mom.
Right.
So, it's good for them to see sneak peeks even of different things that feed our souls and that
Hmm.
light us up and
Yes.
see us joyful. Because
Absolutely.
mothering can be beautiful, but really hard. And a lot of times they can just see us like kind of tired and stressed out. You
Yeah.
always
And
want to see
lonely,
us,
Yeah.
right? So
Hmm.
seeing us really lit up and on fire and in different elements of our beings, that's a beautiful
Hmm.
thing.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. I mean, you can give so much that, I think that's almost a little bit what I experienced when my oldest was going away to college. It was like, wait, what? You're going to go off and have this life, and yeah, I definitely wanted my younger kids to have a different experience and see that, mom has something, like being mom will always be the most important thing,
Yeah.
that I do, but that it doesn't have to be, the only thing I do, and that they they enjoy getting to see that, yeah, I have a passion outside of them, and yeah, that I feel like it makes me, um, just more well-rounded, and
Well, it makes
it
you
gives me.
a better mommy too, right? I
Yes.
mean, when you feed yourself that way, you're definitely, I know for me anyway, I feel, especially when I put those breaks in my day and I schedule things like that, I'm
Hmm.
more calm, I'm more patient, I'm more able to
Yes.
take on things to self-regulate and not get thrown off by their dysregulation,
Yes.
different things like that. So it definitely makes us, better mommies too.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. And one last thing I like to tell my clients, just add water, when it comes to babies or toddlers, if you're having a rough day. And I always let them know this applies to adults too, that just add water and fresh air. So if you can get out and go for a walk, or, it doesn't have to be something that costs money, but just getting outside for fresh air, it's like a reset for you and your baby. And or go, if you are fortunate enough to live close to the beach, go and walk, take a walk at the beach, or listen to the waves, or, take a bath. Just those two things, fresh air and water, they're so simple,
I
but they
love
really
that
can.
you say that. I love that you say that because it has always been my thing with my
Oh,
kids.
really?
Um,
Really?
yeah, we are huge hikers, but we love going to the beach and being in the water. But
Hmm.
one of the ways that I actually help moms get through overwhelm is by different things with baths, like putting their kids in the baths and finding different games and things to do
Yes.
and allowing them to like get out in every weather. So putting their galoshes on and their raincoats and go
Hmm.
splashing in the puddles and
I
going for
love
a walk.
that.
And, so my kids always played in the rain. We always went outside every single day. I grew up in upstate New York, so that was the thing, go
Hmm.
outside.
Hmm.
Um, we didn't, we weren't on TV and video games and such. And I can see
Right.
the difference that it makes in them as older children, to be able to self-regulate, because they don't automatically go to I'm not saying that they don't ever, but they don't automatically go to the things that maybe don't feed them as much, like video games, that they will, be reset very easily by going outside and breathing in the fresh air.
Right.
Or taking a nice bath, or going to the ocean. Because for me, going to the beach, that is a win for everybody.
Same
You don't have to
here.
say no to hardly anything.
Yes.
Everyone's just happy and having a good time, and I love it. It's such a beautiful thing to share with people. So thank you for that.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. I love getting to talk with you today.
I could talk forever about these things.
Me
and
too.
especially because I know that I have so much to learn from you as a mom. I love hearing, because when you're a mom of multiple children, you think you have so much to teach people. And then you meet moms who have more children than you, and you're like, oh, I have so much to learn from you. And it's really true, though, because even that my children are teenagers, I'm always learning. I'm learning from them. I'm learning from books and podcasts and other people. But when you get real life experience from other mamas telling you things, that's, probably been some of my most saving grace moments, where I've opened up enough about like something I was struggling with one of my kids to another mom who has older kids, and them saying, oh, honey, I get it. I've been there.
Yes.
And the relief that you feel that, it's not me, I'm not messed up. My kid's not crazy,
Right. It's such a comfort, because I feel like motherhood is something where women get judged so harshly from other moms a lot of times, or the world in general. And I think it's so helpful to remember that we're all doing the best that we can, and we all like love our babies so fiercely, and that we don't have to compete with each other. And like you said, when you can have those moments with other moms, regardless of if you're a seasoned mom or a brand new mom, but just to be able to have those moments where you can connect and realize, like, in our heart, we all are so similar, and more similar than we are different. And that we're all like here trying to do the best that we can. And the more we can support each other and find the things that connect us, rather than judging each other or feeling like it's a competition.
I experienced a lot of that in moms groups, which is so weird, because you're there to support each other, but there was so much like competition and judgment. And when I think back to the moms where I was saying, like, I felt kind of annoyed by like their complaining when I felt so overwhelmed, when I come to that with compassion and kindness, and realize, in my professional brain, I already got it intellectually. Emotionally, I was having a hard time with it, just because I was overwhelmed. But you're right, we all have so much in common, and a lot of it, I mean, just as humans, we do. We're all looking to be loved, accepted, have somebody be kind and see us. All of that is the same. And as moms, we tend to be so isolated sometimes. So when we have those moments to connect in ways like that, doesn't matter what level you're at, how many kids you have, just to see each other as another mom. Yeah.
It's so true. Aw.
Well, thank you so much for
Thank
today.
you,
I know we went over time, and I'm sorry about that.
It's okay. We'll do it again for sure. I would love
Let's
to.
do it again. We'll pick some really wonderful, helpful topics for people, because there's so much for people to learn from doulas and from moms.
And I'd love to hear more about some of your experiences as a birth doula too. So
such good stuff. I'm so blessed to be doing it. But thanks for joining me. I appreciate it. And
thank you for inviting me. Okay. Thank you, Kristy. Have a great day. Okay. Bye.
Bye.